I'm so excited. Well, Dan, I'll never forget the day I was sitting on my floor and I was so broke it hurt. And I remember having the realization that if I was allowed to work, because I'm Canadian from Vancouver, Canada.
Yes.
And I was in America, and I was thinking, you know, if I was allowed to work, like, it's such a privilege to be able to work. Like, I got that in that moment. Like, it's such a privilege to be able to work. If I was allowed to work in America, I could do anything I want. So when I look at my back journey all the way up, I actually never thought I was going to necessarily be an entrepreneur. I just knew that I was made for more. I just knew that there's like a knowing inside you when you know that you're supposed to be, I mean, as weird as the word is, rich. Like, I knew that I was supposed to be wealthy. I knew I was made for more, but where my life was sitting on an empty apartment floor in Las Vegas, so broke that it hurt. And when I had that realization that I was not only made for more, but my bank account was not representing where I wanted to go, I started seeking anything I could do to figure out how to get really good at sales, get really good at talking to people, landing with people. I don't think balance is real, but I do think the way you strategize your business makes a big difference. I sell one product very well, and then I cross-sell products that they need.
Can you maybe walk us through your model? Like, what's the first, like your signature product, and then like what's the ascension?
Yeah.
Like, how does that work?
So first, we do have an info product. We don't push it very, very much, even though I think it's great. We're probably missing the mark on some of that. I get, sometimes you let things bleed as you scale up. And then you pick it back up and add it into the strategy. But we typically sell a year-long program called Pace Private. And we teach you how to build email lists that are super targeted, right? They're all referral-based email lists.
Okay.
And then we teach them how to sell to that. So it has a high ROI. I'm about to do the same type of build. I'll probably have about 100,000 opt-ins in the series of about 10 days, and it's all referral-based.
Got it.
I like that because it's hot. It's kind of hard to screw up hot traffic. You know, even if you're bad at your marketing, it's still hot traffic. So it gets the entrepreneurs cash flowing. So bring them through that program. We teach them how to sell to that email list, teach them how to build it, and then create products and sell.
So creating an audience first, right? That's your signature program.
Exactly. So that's what we do in that program. But what we're committed to is we're committed to teaching them how to be generous entrepreneurs, which creates a culture inside of our company where all the entrepreneurs are hiring each other, and they're not just a community. To give you an idea, in 10 weeks they referred 700 people. That 700 showed up of the 900 people that they invited to my last event. You know, like, we are a community that shows up like that. So I'm actually teaching them leadership in that program, like hidden underneath, you know, the monetization plan, the email list, and the selling.
I love it.
And so once they go through that year, they choose in or out. About 70% of those people, we add anywhere between 40 and 70, sometimes 100 people a month to that program. Once they go through that program, 70% of them come to a mastermind that they do between the 9th and 12th month that they, like, towards the 9th or 12th month of ending that program. Does that make sense? So, so it's like their year-end mastermind, but we time it so that it's between 9 and 12 months.
Got it. So they've already gone through materials, they're implementing, getting results.
That's right. In that mastermind, we teach them, but then we teach them 12-month ascension plans and all this stuff. But what we do is, in those 2 days, we make them an offer. And the way I make the offer is I'll pitch them in Pace. I pitch to get them in Pace Club. So when they go through Pace, they're through that year, they get to the end, they go to their mastermind. At that mastermind, I'm not pitching them anymore because I want them off the bottle. I want them to be thinking for themselves. Did you gain value here? Do you want to be with us? And do you want to spend the next 4 to 5 years with me so that I can really help you build a significant company versus coach hop? You know? And so 70% come to that, 60% of those people say yes to another year program, and they stay with us for 3 to 5 years at that point.
I know you're very structured, right? how do you manage, how do you structure your company in a way that you could do that could apply to all entrepreneurs, right? Because most of the time, they hit the glass ceiling and then they're stuck and they're the control freak, right? They can't let go. Like,
you got to, first of all, I mean, everybody knows you got to innovate, but first of all, I really focus on growing my leadership more than trying to add new strategies to my business.
Okay.
And I grew multiple millions by just selling 3.5 months a year. And I have my own sales team. It used to be one person, then it was 2 people, then it was 3 people. Now it's grown and continues to grow. And so the strategy again was selling one thing and selling it really well, and it still is. But it's infrastructure in the team. So we focus on leadership. My whole team has been through leadership trainings. We actually bought a leadership training, brought it in-house. Because at the end of the day, if you can't think smart, you can't get there. I mean, think about it. If you know a formula works and you run so many people through it, why does a certain amount of people succeed and others don't? Well, they have a certain base level of leadership. You even said control. When I exploded in real estate, not to like throw this interview in a different direction, but I went from being completely stuck, not being able to sell anything, to $170 million in sales, and I was the only person who sold. And I had an assistant in my office. And what I did was I leveraged other investor bases, databases, and a whole nother story. But how did I explode to that? Well, I mean, I stopped controlling conversations. I mean, I literally would get on a phone call and I would cut people off because I thought I knew better and nothing was coming together. There's nothing worse than being ambitious and feeling like the rug keeps getting pulled out from underneath you. But that's typically a sign of being too intense. There's a difference between intensity and driven. So actually the game is leadership, and that's all I've focused on. So I went from 3.5 months a year of selling, and that's all I sold, and did a multiple 7-figure company, and then moved it to now we sell every single month. But I don't just for me, it doesn't work for me to deliver products that don't have coaching for me, for me, because I don't feel like enough people go through them. And because I know that I didn't create my success in 2 years, I created it by staying on one thing for 5 to 8 years. You know what I mean? Like, so I have to enroll my clients to just stay here. And so, which means that I've got to get them results. So I over deliver in coaching. So we have a whole coaching department right now. And the coaching department, now we're working on monetizing that department because it's an expense of the company.
Yes.
All the way growing the company, I watched my profit margins. So I wasn't like, oh my God, that's the way to grow. I'm just going to risk. I literally was like, we have to stay at a 30 to 35% profit margin. And I still get paid. So that's been my measurement. And I've just, even when I didn't understand my P&Ls, I just understood that profit margin. And I focused on the step that I was in and the thing I could control. And if that profit margin went down, I went and sold more. And then I would like look at where am I investing and make sure that I'm investing in lead gen or on people.
Yes. So what I'm hearing is, number one, you're very focused on just one thing, right? You're very focused on getting that dialed in, very good on lead gen just for this, and very good at converting, right? And also delivering the program.
That's the base. Nothing works without that.
Yes. And then from there, now when you say that you went from selling it in a few months a year to like once every month, like talk to us a little bit about that. So
I delivered the product live through conference calls. I'd sell for 3 months, and in that 3 months, that wave would go through for the year. And I would teach them live until I had a group that we had a bunch of people go from startup to 6 figures, right? And that is not an income claim.
Yes.
So, but we had a bunch of people pop. And I was like, you know what, take all those recordings and put them in Kajabi, make them a system for people to go through. And one of the challenges people had is when you had really ambitious people, they didn't want to wait till the next week to get the next step. And so they wanted to go. And I'm like, sorry, like, this is the structure. So now they can unlock modules and go as quick as they want and rock it out. But then there's the problem you have to innovate is, I know myself, I mean, I've bought info products and they are still not opened because of the fact that it's hard to create time. Even if, like, I probably have 3 Pinterest accounts or 3 Pinterest trainings, because I know Pinterest I think it's an untapped market for lead gen.
Yes. Also for your audience too, right?
Yes. And so I finally hired somebody, but it took me forever to find a Pinterest team that actually knows what they're doing around traffic. And so I bought like 3 programs, and it's like, I just can't, it is not my best use of time to figure out how to run a Pinterest account. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense. It makes more sense for me to do, 9, 10 events in a month.
Yes.
That makes way more sense to me, learning how to do so when I look at just that, I'm driven. And I look at that, I'm like, they're never going to watch these modules. So even though I can get them to buy and get them excited, the amount of leadership it will take me as far as connecting with them and inundating them to keep them motivated is more than I want to give. So I built a coaching team that meets with them every 10 to 14 days, and they have to watch at least 2 modules before they meet with their coach.
Wow.
And once a week, I meet with all the coaches on a Zoom call, because we're all around the world on a Zoom call, and I coach the coaches, and I want to know what's going on with their people so I can coach the coaches. Now our next step is we're going to actually create a certification program for our PACE coaches. They don't have to pay for it. They get it for free, but it actually even systemizes them even stronger to go out there and just really make an impact. At the end of the day, our focus is really, truly, everything we think about in the company is how do we get more people successful? We don't obsess about how to grow, because we compound because people stay with us. So I don't have to do as much on the front end, even though we're kind of unleashed in that area. We've figured out traffic now, but even before I figured out traffic, I don't have to do as much because we compound, because we do such a good job at helping people get their results. And I don't think entrepreneurs, many of them get that. They work really hard on one aspect and they forget that people really have to get the results, and they get frustrated when people complain. It's like the client this morning was a PR company, and she's like, God, now I'm so like, of all these clients, and they're all complaining because they feel confused. I'm like, stop, it's just feedback.
Yes.
It just means that, like, I'm like, well, tell me, what did you give them? She told me, I'm like, girl, like that one question, like, what's their vision?
Yes.
Ask Jesse Itzler, a friend of mine, Sarah Blakely owns Spanx, her husband. I asked Jesse Itzler before he launched his endurance thing. I did the first 2 endurance programs with them, right? And we sold it to our community, and he got really clear on what he was doing. Guy is so inspiring. But I asked him, well, what's your vision for this? When I was, talking to him and he was brainstorming what to do next. And he's like, he didn't know what his vision was. He's like, all I know, he's like, he couldn't answer that question. What he could answer is what he loved, which was empowering people, living his life and his life resume. So I'm like, to my client, I'm like, you just asked them a loaded question and you wonder why they're confused because you gave them 3 other steps with that.
That's correct. I could see that. And it is such a good point, because if you think about where entrepreneurs, when they're stuck, that they lack the vision or they lack clarity, right? And always you lack clarity, you lack the ability to take action.
Yeah.
Right? And I love how also hearing the way you structure your business, you structure your business around your lifestyle preference.
100%. That's why I'm not on the speaking circuit.
Yeah, right. And I think I made a mistake myself as well earlier on, where I structure my life around my business, right? It's always the business like pulling me, okay, the business requires me to do this. It requires me to do this. It requires me to do a lot of different things. Yeah. But when I realized, no, why am I even doing this, right? Like what am I doing it for? It's just for like ego, dollar amounts, I can compare, or awards and all these things. What am I doing it for? If I'm doing it for other people, then I have to ask myself, do I enjoy the process, right? Because like you said, you could do so many events, but if you do too many events, then you get exhausted, then you don't like it, you get burnout.